ghostly tales, yet mirrors of human life. Hey everyone! Welcome to Encountering Chinese, Ghostly Tales from Zhai. Today, I'm going to tell you 2 short stories. The first story is titled Leng Sheng. In Pingxing County, there was a man named Leng who, in his youth, was extremely dull-witted. Even into his 20s, he couldn't comprehend a single classic text. Suddenly, one day, a fox came to live with him closely. Many people heard them talking all night long, but even when Leng brothers questioned him, he refused to reveal anything. After many days, Leng suddenly went mad. Whenever he received a writing prompt, he would shut himself in a room and soon start laughing uproariously. Curious people peeked inside and found Leng writing non-stop. Before long, he had composed an exquisite piece of 8-legged prose. When people read his work, they were amazed at its brilliance. Consequently, that year, Leng smoothly entered the county academy, and the following year, he became a scholar supported by the government. Every time Leng entered the examination hall, he would laugh heartily, and his laughter would echo through the hall. This led people to nickname him Laughing Scholar, and his fame spread widely. Fortunately, during that exam, the examiner happened to be away from the hall and did not hear the laughter. However, in a later exam, Leng encountered a strict examiner who sat in the hall all day. The examiner suddenly heard Leng laughter, became very angry, and dragged him in for punishment. The managing officials spoke up for Leng, explaining that he suffered from a mental illness. The examiner's anger somewhat subsided, and he released him, though his academic record was not reinstated. From then on, Leng became even more eccentric, often drinking and writing poetry for his own amusement. He wrote a 4-volume work titled Crazy Grass, which readers found extraordinarily refined and truly a masterpiece. Upon hearing this little story, the author commented, Leng behavior of locking himself away and laughing while writing seems not unlike the state of sudden enlightenment often described in Buddhism. His ability to produce excellent writing after laughing heartily is indeed an exhilarating thing. But why did the examiner exclude him just because of his laughter? In my view, such an examiner seems rather absurd. This also reminds me of another 2 short stories. Once, a scholar named Sun Jingxia visited a friend. Arriving outside his friend's window, he heard nothing but intermittent laughter and no sound of reading. Sun Jingxia guessed that his friend was amusing himself with someone. However, when he entered the room, he found his friend alone, which seemed very strange. His friend then laughed heartily and said, "I had nothing to do, so I was just mentally reviewing the jokes I've read in the past." In the city, there was a scholar who kept a donkey. This donkey was exceptionally slow-witted and clumsy. Whenever the scholar rode the donkey and encountered a pedestrian, he would bow from the donkey's back and apologize, saying, "I am busy and cannot get off the donkey, please don't hold it against me." Before he could finish his sentence, the donkey would lie down in the middle of the road, which happened repeatedly. This made the scholar feel very embarrassed and frustrated. He decided to have his wife pretend to be a passerby while he rode the donkey in the courtyard, repeating the same apology to her. As expected, the donkey lay down again. As soon as the donkey lay down, the scholar pricked it sharply with a needle. At that moment, a friend came to visit and was about to knock on the door when he heard the scholar inside say, "I am busy and cannot get off the donkey, please don't hold it against me." Shortly after, the friend heard the same words again. The friend was very puzzled and knocked on the door to inquire. The scholar explained the situation, and both of them burst into laughter. I am attaching these two short stories at the end of the Leng Sheng story, hoping they will also be passed down. The second story is titled, Fox Punishes Lewdness. A scholar bought a new residence, but after moving in, he was frequently disturbed by a fox spirit. The scholar's clothes and belongings were often ruined by the fox, and it would also put dust into the scholar's soup cakes, rendering them inedible. One day, a friend came to visit but arrived just as the scholar had left. The friend waited until dark, but the scholar did not return. The scholar's wife prepared a meal to entertain the guest. After the guest had finished eating, the wife and a maid ate the leftovers. The scholar, known for his libertine ways, had a penchant for collecting aphrodisiacs. At some point, the fox spirit secretly mixed an aphrodisiac into the porridge. When the scholar's wife ate the porridge, she noticed a scent of camphor and musk. She asked the maid about it, but the maid didn't know. After the meal, the scholar's wife felt a burning desire she could not control and was increasingly agitated. Considering there were no men available at home, she went to the study to knock on the door, hoping to find solace with the guest. When the guest asked who was there, the scholar's wife truthfully answered, but when asked what she wanted, she did not reply. The guest refused, saying, "I have a moral obligation to your husband and cannot do something so beastly." Despite this, the scholar's wife persisted and the guest scolded her, saying, "Your actions will ruin your husband's reputation and character." The guest even spat on the scholar's wife through the window. Deeply ashamed, the scholar's wife left but was puzzled as to why she was behaving this way. Suddenly, she remembered the smell of the porridge and guessed it was due to the aphrodisiac. She checked the medicine packages at home and found that the aphrodisiac had been scattered everywhere, even in the bowls and cups. The scholar's wife, knowing that cold water can counteract the effects, drank some. Almost immediately, she felt clear-headed but was overcome with shame. She tossed and turned for a long time, unable to sleep, and became increasingly frightened. Fearing that she would be unable to face people after dawn, she loosened her belt and hanged herself. The maid discovered the mistress had hanged herself and managed to rescue her, but by then the scholar's wife was nearly lifeless. It wasn't until morning that she showed faint signs of breathing. The guest had already left during the night. The scholar didn't return until the next evening. Seeing his wife lying in bed, he asked what was wrong, but she did not answer, only silently weeping. The maid revealed what had happened, and the scholar was shocked. He pressed his wife for details, and after sending the maid away, she confessed everything. The scholar sighed and said, "This is the consequence of my past debauchery. How could I ever blame you for this? Fortunately, I have a friend of high moral standing, or else how would I face the future?" After this, the scholar profoundly changed his ways, and the fox spirit disappeared. At the end of the story, the author made a commentary. People generally advise against storing poisons like arsenic or lethal wine at home, but they never warn against keeping aphrodisiacs. It's like fearing weapons yet indulging in sensual pleasures. They don't realize that sometimes the harm of aphrodisiacs can be more severe than arsenic or lethal wine. In truth, keeping aphrodisiacs is just to please one's wife or concubines, but it still draws the envy of spirits. How much worse, then, is the case of those who are naturally licentious and debauched. This reminds me of another story. A scholar went to take an exam and returned from the county in the evening. He had bought some lotus seeds and water chestnuts along the way and placed them on a table, along with a toy made of vines that he had soaked in a basin of water. A neighbor, noticing the scholar had just returned, came to visit with some wine. The scholar, feeling flustered by the visit, hurriedly placed the water basin under the bed and went to greet the guest. He told his wife to prepare food and wine for the guest. After the meal, the scholar quickly went to check under the bed with a candle, only to find the basin empty. He asked his wife about it, and she said, "I didn't know what it was, so I just served it along with the chestnuts." "You all ate it already, what are you looking for?" The scholar suddenly recalled that the dish he had just eaten contained some black strips. Everyone at the table had wondered what they were and had asked about them. The scholar burst into laughter and said, "You foolish woman! What on earth was that? How could you dare to cook and serve it to guests?" The wife was puzzled and said, "I was actually blaming you earlier for not telling me how to cook that thing. It looked so unattractive and I didn't know its name, so I just cut it up and boiled it." The scholar and his wife laughed heartily together. Now, the scholar has risen to a prominent position, but his friends still enjoy joking about this incident. Alright. That's all for today's ghostly tales, Leng Sheng and Fox Punishes Lewdness. If you enjoyed these stories, please give us a like and subscribe. Please also encourage everyone to comment and share more. We'll see you in the next episode.